Hello, everyone. Richard Keck here with all things fantasy football. And today we're going to do the preseason rankings for the Crab Dynasty Football League, which was the first one under the format that I do these videos for that we started several years ago. This is the first year for doing videos. So this is our first preseason audio tape that we're doing here for this, the first YouTube upload. For a ranking system. We're going to count them down from 14 back to 1 for the preseason. Remember, it's all in fun. So any criticism or anything else I give you, that's all in fun. Just trying to keep the league going, keep it thriving. So we've got some really, really good teams in the league. We've got a couple really, really not so good teams in the league. And we're going to start from 14, work our way back to the number 1 team in the preseason. And we're going to start right off, get right to it. We're going to start off at the number 14 team, and that is the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Brandon and Jerry Brockwell are listed as co-owners on this. It's mostly Jerry, but that runs this roster. Let's be honest here. Jerry's taken a lot of swings and a lot of misses with his draft picks and trading them away, trying to get players and getting several lower end draft picks. A lot of swings and misses. And at some point, you just got to take what's given to you. Hold on to those draft picks. Keep those first-round draft picks and try to acquire some players. Currently, he doesn't have any players in the top 100 on the roster, and then no draft picks in 2022 or 2023. That means the rebuild doesn't even start until 2024. He does have a couple of nice players on the roster, a couple of young guys that still should be around when he gets to that point, but needs to hang on to those draft picks. I'm going to put out a video after I do all these individual league ones, basically telling everybody how to do a rebuild, because it can be done. I've done it in 2 leagues with a full-on rebuild, and it starts with keeping the draft picks. If you trade your draft picks away, you should be a contender. The contenders will trade their draft picks away for that last piece that'll put them over the top. If you're not a contender, you should be acquiring as many draft picks as you can get, not giving them away. So that's where Jerry needs to start off right from the get-go, to try to hold on to them draft picks. I definitely want to see him competitive. I know winning 1 or 2 or 3 games is not the goal you're in and you're out. Can't be. He wants to win, wants to get some players. He's doing what he can, but at some point you just have to wave the white flag and say, you know what, time to hold on to a couple of these draft picks, see what I can do with them. So let's break it down from the team perspective here. Quarterback, he's got Carson Wentz, Cam Newton, and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, definitely nice pickup, nice player, future quarterback. Carson Wentz is still very young. Them quarterbacks should be the cornerstones of this roster. Cam Newton's going to be long gone before he gets another draft pick. But definitely doesn't have to worry about that position. That position's locked up for a few years. The running back spot, we got Kenyon Drake, also moved over to Las Vegas, where he's sharing time with Brandon Jacobs. Not so bad there. Philip Lindsay, battling it with Melvin Gordon. Not Melvin Gordon, David Johnson over in Houston. So a couple pieces there to at least put up a good lineup. But if that's the best you got, you're not going to win many games. This team might win 1, 2, maybe 3 games this year total. Just doesn't have a lot to put out as far as resistance against some of those better teams in the league. Got Marlon Mack on there. Best thing to happen to Marlon Mack would be to get traded to a place where he gets to play, or an injury to Jonathan Taylor, which Lord knows I don't want that. I've got him in several places, but Marlon Mack is definitely a decent running back that still just needs a place to play. Not much after that. Nothing to get excited about. At the receiver position, Mike Williams might be the one guy that's worth keeping an eye on. Maybe a little Christian Kirk, maybe Valdez Scantling. Again, nothing that's going to blow your socks off. Just at best wide receiver 4s and wide receiver 5s on this roster. Tight end is Anthony Ferkser. We don't even know what he is or what he can be. So we're going to have to see what that is. Plus, he had to way overpay to get him because he was one of the better guys in the auction portion of the draft. So again, not a lot to get excited about for 2021 for Anaheim. And Bad part about that is his number one draft pick next year belongs to Chicago. His number one draft pick in 23 belongs to South Park, who you'll find later in the rankings are in the the upper echelon of teams in this league. So that is not where you want those coveted draft picks. I mean, if your team is not going to win a lot of games, the last place you want those draft picks are with the teams that are going to win a lot of games. And unfortunately, that's where they are for 2022 and 2023. So 14th team is Jerry Brockwell's Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Could be a long season for him. The 13th spot belongs to the Coldwater Lions, Tim Granger. Tim's done a couple nice things as far as working towards a rebuild, getting a couple extra draft picks. That's what you're supposed to do. If you're not a contender, try to acquire them draft picks. So he's acquired a couple extra first round draft picks in the league. So that's going to bode well for him down the road. As far as this year, he has some pieces that he could actually put in a lineup that presents a mild resistance to some of the upper echelon teams. Probably going to win more games than the Anaheim team does, but we'll have to see about that. Obviously you got to play the games for a reason. See what happens. Quarterback Sam Darnold gets his second chance in Carolina, and I think Sam Darnold's going to do well there. I think it was more the Jets and more the Jets coaching staff than it was Sam Darnold, but we're going to find that out right out of the chute. Derek Carr's the other quarterback, getting a little up there in age, but he also has Jordan Love on the taxi squad, so that could be a nice guy next year. If not, cut Derek Carr loose, grab another one in a draft somewhere along the lines. Not with them first round draft picks, so he's got plenty of other holes to fill. You can ride Sam Darnold for quite a while and just get anybody as a backup. As far as running backs go, there's not a lot there. Jamal Williams for the Lions, going over from Green Bay, might be that guy. Might be the one running back you're starting every week. Maybe a little Matt Breida. Probably not. So there's not a lot there to get excited about. It's going to make it hard to put up a decent lineup and a decent score every week without any to do about nothing for running backs. The wide receivers where he has a few guys that he can put in. We got Antonio Brown, going to have a nice year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brandon Cooks, somebody's got to catch the ball in Houston. I think he's going to have a good year. Jameson Crowder might have a good year. Nelson Aguilar, maybe a little Hunter Renfrow somewhere around there. Somebody is going to do something, and he's got some guys that can actually get something. Kedrick Bourne even possibly get something there in New England. So he's got both New England guys. Whoever catches the ball there, he's got them. Tight ends got Tyler Higbee, Irv Smith Jr., Robert Tonyan. You might even play two tight ends. Might even run a couple of those. Maybe three tight ends. Depends on how they play going down the line in the future. But I think Irv Smith's going to have a really good year. Tonyan was touchdown dependent last year. We'll see if that continues going on into this next year. Tyler Higbee, he has Stafford throwing him to him now. He might take a step forward, but definitely he's got some tight end options there. Might even consider trading one of those guys, holding a couple, trade one, and get some more draft picks. If I'm sitting in this spot, it's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to a team that maybe doesn't have a tight end that's a contender, might need one of those guys, and get what you can get out of them. See what, wait till the trade deadline, which is week 11 this year, but wait till that trade deadline and just fire one over there. Whoever's hot, just let them loose. You don't need to be stellar at the tight end position if you ain't got one of the big three. Any one of those guys could be decent, and if you send them to a guy that's a contender, you get them draft picks that you can fill the other holes on your team that you definitely have. Tight end's not a hole for him. His fourth tight end's at Cole Kmet for the Bears. So literally he's got four guys that he could start on any given week. Trade two of them, trade one, something like that. Acquire them draft picks and hold on to them. And I say this as a guy who amasses draft picks any chance I get. I do it in every league. If you're going to give them to me, I'm going to take them. And unfortunately, there's some guys more than willing to give them up. But I'm seeing it, and everybody that's starting to catch on is starting to see it. The only way you're going to rebuild, the only way you're going to bounce back is with our rookie drafts, with them draft picks. You ain't going to get it in the auction. I mean, who was the best player in our auction this year? was it James Conner? You know, are you gonna win? Is he a league winner for you? I'm not sure that James Conner is going to win teams that are rebuilding a league. So, you know, you've got to rebuild through the draft. So hold on to them draft picks. So again, you're going to hear me say that multiple times, especially with these first few teams. So 13th team, Coldwater Lions, Tim Granger. Like a couple things he's done, definitely got a little road ahead of him in order to get this full rebuild done. Team number 12, sorry, as I check my notes over here, is the San Antonio Sillimans, Don Silliman. Also a team that has some early weapons. Pardon me. Quarterback got Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo probably not going to be a quarterback for the entire year. Tannehill, perfectly fine as your number one guy going on in the future. But for this year, it's Tom Brady. They're talking about Tom Brady having his best season ever. Having Silliman here at 12 is a reflection on the entire lineup as a whole and what you got to do with your team. He had a really good draft this year. Unfortunately, one of his number one draft pick got hurt and he's out for the year. So, you know, it was looking good. Tom Brady projected with a high ceiling. And then all of a sudden you lose your number one draft pick. And that was at the running back position, Travis Etienne. Draft him, expect the world out of him, and he goes down for the year. Unfortunately, that's how it goes in fantasy football and in the NFL. Another guy he picked up that I really like is Randry Stevenson. Think, you know, now that Sony Michel has moved on to the Rams, Stevenson's door and his floor and his ceiling just went up quite a bit. So nice player to go with Etienne when he gets him back next year. It's going to be a long road this year, unfortunately. Still probably going to win some games, though. You know, Tom Brady's going to win some games for you. You start Stevenson, and then you got a bunch of running wide receivers that you can plug in and actually have potentially at least a resistance. You're going to at least put up a fight against some of those other teams, but there's some really good teams. So it's going to be hard to win enough to probably get into the playoffs. But this is not an easy out. This team's not an easy out. Look at the wide receiver position. They have Elijah Moore, who I've spoke very highly of. Cortland Sutton comes back. You know, you got Sterling Shepard in there. Picking up AJ Green in the auction there wasn't a bad play for the year. Nico Collins is another rookie that I really like. So definitely there's some guys on the roster that are bode well for the future. And also Silliman is not one that trades away his draft picks. So for the most part, he's probably got, I mean, I don't have them all right in front of me, but I bet he's got most of them, if not all of them. He doesn't go out of his way to trade those draft picks very often. So, you know, again, hold on to them draft picks. You know, Etienne comes back next year. Build on the momentum that you're going to get here. But this team is definitely in a rebuild. Tight end position, Gerald Everett, Hayden Hurst, Eric Ebron. Nothing's going to, you know, blow the doors off your house or anything, but serviceable guys. So that number 12 team, Don Silliman and the San Antonio Sillimans. Number 11 is another team that you're going to hear me say the word draft pick, and that is the team of Nate Jones and the Pittsburgh Panty Droppers. I can't even believe I'm saying that on air. But Nate has no draft picks in 22, none in 23. So while he has some very good players on the roster, there's not a lot of depth and there's no future here. So the future is definitely bleak until 2024. At that point, you need to hold on. So clearly it's just going to be getting by unless he decides to take any one of the studs that he does have and try to get as many as he can get. But a couple of the guys are really young and they'll still be around when 2024 arrives, as long as you hold on to draft picks. So anyway, at quarterback, he's got Ben Roethlisberger and Taysom Hill and a rookie Minnesota quarterback, Kellen Mond. So right now you're riding Roethlisberger. Hill is not the starter as of right now. And Roethlisberger didn't finish the season last year. So he goes down and guess what? You have no quarterback. So this team could win some games, made the playoffs last year, or it could fall flat on its face real fast, depending on what happens with Ben Roethlisberger. Has by week 7, hopefully by then something pans out and some quarterback becomes available, or somebody, or maybe Hill is at least playable, because they might still use him, and Winston both on the field. So, Hill might be playable for a bye week or so, but not a lot there as far as for the future of this quarterback. On top of the fact that you have no draft picks, you need to draft a quarterback. You need to acquire a quarterback somewhere, trade for one or something. And even then, you don't want to trade your pieces for a one quarterback in a quarterback in a one quarterback league. So makes it very difficult. You got to hope that maybe the high dollar ones get thrown back and you have free agent dollars. Aaron Rodgers is $50, might get thrown back next year. Maybe you can bid on him for a year. But definitely for the year, it's going to be a long season. So, Ben Roethlisberger has the potential, as we all know, to put up very good numbers. It's just, can he continue to do it for an entire year at his age with the health issues he's had? Running backs, Nadia Harris was the #1 draft pick for him this year. Nice pickup. He's looked really good in camp. I think he's going to be a stud and might be the team's best player on the roster. In fact, it is, probably their best player on the roster. Going forward, he should be there in 2024. So that's one of the pieces you don't want to necessarily move unless you absolutely have to. Pairing up with him is Myles Gaskin. Guy keeps getting the touches. I'm not a super fan of Gaskin, but you can't argue with the production that he's getting those touches, and he's still getting the touches in preseason and in camp. So looks like he may be the guy. So you're starting the pair of Gaskin and Harris. There's not much else on the roster that is that amazing. Mark Ingram is getting a lot of the first team touches, so maybe Mark Ingram for the year might be a decent start. Boston Scott might get a few little touches here and there. Todd Gurley could end up somewhere, but nothing that's standing out as amazing past Gaskin and Harris. Wide receivers, you got Juju and Claypool, both Steelers, but you also have Harris and you have Roethlisberger. I know you love the Steelers. I think we all know you love the Steelers. Got to diversify a little bit. As you, I'd probably take Juju, hold on to Claypool, and move Juju right now. See if you can get a receiver that's maybe not the name brand of Juju, that's still giving you the same Juju production, and get a draft pick to go with it. Somebody will give that to you. It's out there. There's contenders who are like, I need another receiver. I got to have an extra guy, and you get that guy for him for Juju. That's what I would do. Devontae Parker, Michael Gallup, also a couple guys that definite nice fit pieces for you. After that, you've just got some plug and play guys in like Tim Patrick, Zach Pascal, Travis Fulgham, Arcega-Whiteside, and Cam Sims. Nothing great, but once you get past those first four, you still start. I mean, the lineup is there. You got a couple running backs. Easy got 3 wide receivers to start. Jared Cook, tight end, is a nice play for this year. But again, that's another position you're going to have to draft in the future. When you're aged out at the quarterback and the tight end position, but you don't even have great wide receivers and running backs, and then you have no draft picks, that's a problem. Got to hold on to them draft picks. I've said it for the first 4 teams, for 3 of those teams. So the number 11 team is the Pittsburgh Panty Droppers, Nate Jones. The number 10 team is the Lansing Krogers. And the Lansing Krogers, is Gary Conklin, has some really nice, decent pieces that I want to talk about. Some guys that, I really love. Starting with the quarterback, Josh Allen. To me, he's probably the number 1 quarterback outside of Patrick Mahomes, or number 2 quarterback outside of Mahomes. Last year in our scoring format, put up 458 points, which is absolutely huge. When you look at other players like, Jared Goff and Daniel Jones and stuff like that, they're in the 200, the 230, 240, and this guy's putting up 450. So, he's worth the $30 price tag that's attached to him to hold him on the roster. That's not in the $50 range like Aaron Rodgers. So definitely, he's a little more than the average for the price, but he's definitely worth having. And he's going to make Lansing win some games just with him alone. It doesn't really matter what pieces you play in with him. Running back, very thin at the position, but got a couple guys you can play. You got Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, both Buffalo backs. Clearly, that's just going to go with whatever horse is being fed. Hopefully, it's Zach Moss. It seems like he's the guy that's the leader in the clubhouse and should be the guy who gets most of the bulk of the work. Also on the roster is Raheem Moser, and Moser's getting up there. Not going to be around long term for this franchise, so you got to get your use out of him and then move on. Haven't checked again Lansing's draft pick history and what he's got here. But he's generally one who likes to move. So my guess is he doesn't have a lot of his draft picks, but I'm sure he has some. You're definitely going to have to address the running back position in the future. But for this year, you're going to be running the combo of Moss and Moser, the MOMO team, along with some of these wide receivers, which you have some wide receivers that definitely could put up some points for 2021. A couple guys you got on the roster. You got Adam Thielen, who was a 200-point scorer for Lansing last year and should be again this year. They got Thielen, they got Jefferson, they don't have nobody else. They're going to throw him the ball. Irv Smith might get a little bit here and there. Deebo Samuel's on this roster. Will Fuller is on this roster. And then new spark plug in the mix that what probably wasn't counted on was Marcus Callaway. I don't know if you saw the preseason game the other day. Looks like Jameis Winston loves the guy. Jameis Winston looked good throwing to the guy. I have a feeling they're gonna hook up several other times. So Callaway gets thrown into the mix along with Fuller, Samuel, Adam Thielen. To go with a couple running backs he has. He's got a lineup that's going to present some resistance. Also on the taxi squad there, which probably won't stay on the taxi squad long, are some rookies in Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon is probably the heir apparent to Raheem Moser, guy that's going to take over for him. So that's kind of semi-addressed already, but still going to need a little more depth at the position. Rashad Bateman, injured early, probably won't be kicked in until a few weeks into the season, but I love Rashad Bateman. I think he's going to be amazing. And Kadarius Toney, who also is, another one I think is going to stand out in New York. Fortunately, they got Kenny Galladay, they got Sterling Shepard, they got Darius Slayton. So they got a lot of weapons, and is there enough balls to go around to make him super relevant? We'll have to see. Maybe by next year, somebody's moved on to another home. So anyways, that's the number 10 team, the Lansing Kroger's, Gary Conklin. And we move on to number 9, and it is the Aliquippa Free Willies. And Mr. BG Fear is coming in at number 9. And BG has drafted one of my favorite players this year. As you guys all know, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. Justin Fields. It's hard not to be excited just watching it. I hope he pans out. I got the jersey coming on Christmas. It's either coming from my wife, or I'll be ordering it right after Christmas. So I'm not going to buy it until I know for sure. But we'll see. Has Justin Fields to go with Daniel Jones, who is a young guy last year. BG's had a knack of drafting good quarterbacks. He drafted Deshaun Watson. He drafted Jared Goff. Traded, I think, for Daniel Jones, if I remember correctly. And now he's drafted Justin Fields. So in my mind, Justin Fields is going to make it because BG drafted him. So Deshaun Watson's also on this roster. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Fortunately for him, I think Fields and Daniel Jones are going to get the bulk of the playing time. So everything is going to, work out for him. There is only one problem with this roster. Watson, Jones, and Fields all share the same bye week. That's the bad thing with Dynasty. The bye weeks come out and weird times, and just sometimes it's going to work out that way. He's going to lose every one of his quarterbacks on the same week. So I can't imagine he's going to trade one of these just for a 1 week in a fantasy league. So whoever's playing BG in week 10 is probably going to get a nice little lead quarterback to his nothing at quarterback. So there's that. The running back position, there's not a lot of depth here at all. He's got a couple on the taxi squad to kind of hide a little bit, but none of those guys would start. So literally he's got Nick Chubb and Miles Sanders, and then a couple of guys that you're not going to play. So Chubb and Sanders, two great ones. You're going to start them both every week until you get to week 13, week 14 when they hit their buys, which is really nice that they have late buys like that. But Chubb and Sanders, going to play them both. At the wide receiver position, love a couple of these wide receivers here. CeeDee Lamb and Deontay Johnson. I think they're both future pieces. That's one thing that he definitely has on this roster. He has some really young future pieces. Deontay Johnson, CeeDee Lamb, both very young. Justin Fields, young. Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, not old at all. They're going to be around for a few years. He has the pieces in place, and I guarantee you, BG has not traded away all his draft picks because he does not trade those. Other receivers of note that they're going to draw some interest on this roster. Nicole Hardman, definitely a guy that, they got to have somebody to throw to. There's no Sammy Watkins in Kansas City anymore. Got to throw it to somebody other than Tyreek Hill and Kelsey. So, Hardman definitely is in line to get some extra catches. Jarvis Landry still, Mr. PPR, catches a lot of passes every year. Traquan Smith, with what's his name down, for the injury there for quite a few weeks again. Somebody's got to catch the ball in New Orleans. And then there's other guys, a bunch of young guys, that Dwayne Eskridge. I mean, he might be taking over. I've heard that he might take over for Tyler Lockett next year. So maybe Lockett moves on somewhere else, and Eskridge is that guy that takes his spot. We'll have to see if that pans out or not. But there's guys on this roster. Literally, even with the short bench at the running back position, you can play 4 running backs or 4 wide receivers pretty easily on this roster. Tight ends has Evan Ingram, perfectly fine with that guy. Added a couple young pieces in Freiermuth and Hunter Long out of Miami. So the pieces are there. Doesn't have to address the tight end position. Doesn't have to address quarterback position. Going to be able to use these draft picks that he has in the future years to stockpile running backs and receivers. So he's got himself in a good spot. I just don't know that he has the depth to go the distance this year. It fell a little short last year, and he did get a little better, but so did everybody else. Everybody else above him got a little bit better as well. So that's where we got him sitting at number 9 this year. Aliquippa Free Willies, BG Fear, position number 9. Number 8 was a team that won the league last year. I have Shane Peterman's Crystal Meth team coming in at number 8. And it's hard to rank some of these guys. You get on a roll. Some guys get hot, and that's what happens. And his team got hot, and he won the league. Do I think he's maybe the 8th best team? Maybe not. It's a lot. Once you get up into the top 8, there's a lot of room to work around in there. But right now, I think there's a few teams that are a little bit better, at least for this preseason ranking. So I got him at number 8. Matt Stafford's a starting quarterback who I think is going to ball out this year. He's got lots of weapons in LA to throw to. His other 2 quarterbacks are rookies, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence. He is set for the future, just absolutely straight up set. And Matt Stafford doesn't even have a bye week till 11. You got 11 weeks, 10 weeks of play to let Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence get in there and get a flow and get a feel and be able to play before you even need them for that 1 week. So they're both sitting on a taxi squad for now. Someone will get called up eventually, but we'll have to wait and see who and when. But for right now, that's a position he definitely does not have to address. Running back position, Aaron Jones definitely is the corner piece for the running back position here. Newly acquired to the Rams is Sony Michel. I'm hearing right away that he jumps up to RB1. He takes Darrell Henderson's spot right away. So we'll see if that happens or doesn't happen. But Sony Michel still has the same knees that he had in New England. So, you got to take that for what it's worth. But he's also had some good games. So, and he's still very young. He's still under his rookie contract in our system here. So, definitely has the potential to be that RB2 for him. And if not, he's got other guys, Mike Davis, Leonard Fournette, David Johnson, got guys that you definitely can play at the running back position. He's got depth at the position. He just doesn't have any past Aaron Jones. He doesn't have that star power that I'm looking for. But definitely, if you're going to be weak at a position, that one you can mask a little bit. You can mask a little bit and stuff like that. As long as you've got the other positions locked up, you can get by with one stud running back and plug and play on the rest of them. The wide receiver spot, it's got a lot of cheap guys, and that's what you want, a lot of young and cheap guys. So this position is going to be good for a minute. Robert Woods is cheap, not young, but he's very cheap. Pairs him with Matt Stafford, which is really nice. And then you're looking at Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark, Denzel Mims, Henry Ruggs, Laviska Shenault. So lots of young wide receiver depth. Again, lacking a little bit of star power, but good enough. I mean, it's good enough to play with. Tight end went out and has Logan Thomas, got him in a trade, got Jonnu Smith for the Patriots. Jonnu Smith might be the guy for the next few years. Logan Thomas, maybe a couple of years, but an aging position, but good enough for quite a few years still. So team's in good shape, good condition. There's other teams that are just a little better, but if I know Shane Peterman, he's not going to sit back and, if he's struggling even a little bit, he'll make some moves. So got a couple guys on the taxi squad. Like I mentioned, the 2 quarterbacks. Also has Tutu Atwell, which I think right now is buried behind Kupp and Woods, but eventually could make his way to be a nice receiver for the Rams. So we'll see what happens there. So the number 9 spot, Crystal Meth, Shane Peterman. Or I'm sorry, the number 8 spot, Shane Peterman. Number 7 is another team that's made a lot of trades as of late, has made some moves, and that's the Columbus Crush. Team has made the playoffs all the first few years of our league, missed the playoffs last year. And so looking to bounce back and get back in it. He's made some nice trades to get him into a position to, when you're looking at the 5, 6, 7, 8, those guys are all going to be battling for the playoff spots. So definitely Columbus has made those moves. Dak Prescott's back for him, so that's definitely nice. Going with Jalen Hurts as his backup. So between the two, you're set at that quarterback position for quite a few years. Don't even have to worry about it. Again, 1 quarterback league, and he's got 2 guys that are probably top 10. Running backs went out and got Michael Carter in the draft, and that's a nice pairing with Antonio Gibson. The duo right there, and Antonio Gibson had a great year last year. Just missed the 200-point mark. But I expect that he's going to eclipse that 200-point mark this year. Pairing him with Michael Carter, once he gets rolling. Until then, you got Melvin Gordon on the roster. Melvin Gordon is still that guy until someone says so otherwise, So and we'll see what happens with the Denver running back situation. Not a lot past that to get excited about. Maybe Gus Edwards doing some vulturing for the Baltimore Ravens. But after that, just guys that are waiting for opportunities after injuries. Wide receiver wise, love the wide receiving core here. DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith and Rondell Moore, the rookies, and also Terrence Marshall. I absolutely just love Terrence Marshall. I think Mike did knocked it out of the park with these wide receiver drafts, especially Smith and Marshall, which I like a lot more than even Rondell Moore. But DK Metcalf's a top 2, top 3 dynasty wide receiver right now, and you got him. He scored 225 points last year. Just his second year in the league. So love DK Metcalf. This is a team that can start 1 running back and Antonio Gibson, throw 4 receivers out there and compete with anybody any given week. Tight end position, probably looking at maybe starting Gronkowski again most of the year. Maybe some Adam Troutman in there if he takes off like I hope he does, because I've got him in a couple leagues. But he's definitely playable, at that position. So the number 7 spot is the Columbus Crush, and definitely in the playoff hunt this year. We'll see how things pan out. Going to number 6, and it is the St. John's River Rats. It's a team that 2 years ago went undefeated, won the league. Doesn't trade a lot of his draft picks, so guarantee he's probably got all or most of them. Has a lineup that is definitely going to be contender every year. Struggled a little bit last year, had some injuries, and missed the playoffs. Starting right off this year, already has an injury, so that hurts, but has a little depth. So we'll start off with the quarterback spot, and Lamar Jackson is the guy for him. The starter, the unquestioned guy that's going to be the week in and week out starter. Tua looks like the only other quarterback on the roster, and not in love with Tua, but definitely a serviceable backup. So he'll definitely, as long as no injuries happen to Lamar Jackson, he isn't going to play but 1 week anyway. So there's that. Running back spot is definitely a 1-2 combination for Alvin Kamara and Josh Jacobs. Both guys are just, Kamara's just getting his last year of his rookie contract. Jacobs is in the 3rd year of his. Both of them were blowing things out last year and expect to do the same this year. Jacobs has a little competition with Kenyon Drake on the roster now, but talent always shows itself no matter who's on the team with you. And if you think that Kenyon Drake is as good as Josh Jacobs, I've not been a Drake fan from the get-go. He had a flash a little bit in Arizona, but I mean, he's not Josh Jacobs. So I think the talent will rise to the top, and we'll see that Jacobs is that guy. Not much else to get excited about there. Has a couple backups, and it covers if anybody gets injured. Definitely guys that can be talked about later, and like Latavius Murray, Jerick McKinnon, but it's going to be the Kamara Jacobs show for this team, plus a mix of quite a few wide receivers. Look at the wide receiver group. Already has an injury to Devin Funchess. He's on IR. Michael Thomas is already out for Lord knows how many weeks. But there's still some guys on here. Julio Jones, definitely getting up in there in age. He's been franchised for this team 4 years in a row, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And with good reason. He's worth keeping the whole time. He's still in the hunt. So definitely worth keeping him. Pairs him with another older guy, Marvin Jones, with Jacksonville getting up there. Like I said, Michael Thomas is injured. Tyler Lockett. So they got the receivers to throw to. Little James Washington, Marquise Brown. Got some rookies on the taxi squad that are looking nice. Diami Brown. So you got him down there. Peoples Jones down there. Cornell Powell. So there's guys that can definitely produce for this team, but clearly it's going to be that group of wide receivers and like Jones, Lockett, and Thomas when he comes back that are going to help carry the team along with Jacobs and Kamara. Tight end position, got lots of guys that can play in Austin Hooper, Zach Ertz, but it's TJ Hawkinson that's going to be the week in, week out starter for this team. So the team is in poise and position to win. That's why I'm sitting at the 6th spot, which right now that's a playoff spot. So the top 6 are the teams that I'm projecting to make the playoffs as far as the preseason goes right now. This team definitely has a team that could be a winner right out of the get-go. So that was the number 6 team, the St. John's River Rats, Julian Paxi. The number 5 team is the Motor City Machine Guns, Laron Tanner. And Laron is the beneficiary of the injury to Travis Etienne, and him holding James Robinson definitely boosted him up my ranking system a little bit. I have James Robinson ahead of running backs like Clyde Edwards-Helaire even this year, who I'm not so sure is going to be a boom player, but James Robinson definitely climbed the ladder for me as far as where he fit in the pecking order of running backs. But right off the get-go, team has Patrick Mahomes and Ryan Fitzpatrick. At quarterback, Mac Jones on the taxi squad. He's got his future guy along with Mahomes, who's still very young. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a nice starter, so Mac Jones doesn't even have to play, doesn't even have to come off taxi this year as long as Fitzpatrick's still playing. When you got Mahomes, you're getting 400 plus points for the season, which is really, really nice. Patrick Mahomes is on his 5th year of his rookie deal as well. So he's maxing out for him as far as cost goes, but he's still got 10, 15 years of playing time ahead of him. So Motor City is going to have that position locked up for quite a long time. Running back position, like I said, James Robinson already mentioned. You're pairing him with Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, Chris Carson. He's got some stud backs in the stable. I mean, he's got some guys ready to ball out. I think Joe Mixon has a better year. I'm not a huge Mixon fan necessarily, but I think he's poised to have a very good year. I think David Montgomery is going to have a good year. I think Chris Carson is going to have a good year. So the Motor City is going to be a tough out for anybody playing each week with that stable of running backs. Then you get to the receivers. Mind you, he's already got Patrick Mahomes. He's got a great stable of running backs. You get the receivers, and he's throwing Tyreek Hill and Kenny Galladay at you. Those are the guys that stand out. He's got a bunch of other guys that you can plug and play, and Emmanuel Sanders, Jacoby Myers, Paris Campbell, Brian Edwards. Got lots of guys he can use. But it's the Galladay, and it's going to be Tyreek Hill is pushing up almost 300 points last year. So you're throwing him, pairing him with Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes, Tyreek Hill can have you down 50 before you're, on a Thursday night game before you even have any of your players hit the field Sunday. So definitely not going to be an easy out to play. LaRon Tanner's Motor City Machine Guns, the 5-ranked team here. He's, tight end wise, he's not blowing you out of the water with any of the guys he has. He has OJ Howard, he has Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz. Nothing great at the tight end spot, but if you're going to punt anywhere, punt there, punt at the tight end. We're not a tight end premium league. You're not getting bonus points. So, if you have to punt at a position, might as well be that one. Guaranteed LaRon has a bunch of draft picks for the future. He's got some nice guys on the taxi squad. So definitely a team we're going to have to watch out for in the future. Number 5 team, Motor City Machine Guns, LaRon Tanner. Number 4 is Eldon McGraw and the Chesaning Indians. Again, another team that last year missed the playoffs, and this year looks like they're ready to just blow you out of the water. It's a scary looking roster. When you look at the start at the quarterback position, you got Joe Burrow coming back from an injury, which in his own right would be a decent starter, but that's not even going to start for Chesaning. He's got Aaron Rodgers, and we all know the Aaron Rodgers saga over the course of the summer. Finally comes to Green Bay. And do you think that he's not going to play with a chip on his shoulder, that he's not going to, the guy won the MVP last year, and he was pissed off that they drafted Love. Now I think he's even more mad. I think it's him and Davante Adams are just going to light it up. I think it's potentially another Aaron Rodgers MVP season. I think the Packers, along with the Rams, might be the only 2 teams that potentially could keep the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from a Super Bowl. And I'm not even sure if that can happen, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do everything within his power to make sure that they do that they keep them out of the Super Bowl. I think we're going to see a very angry, a very gunslinging Aaron Rodgers, who's going to, any chance he gets is going to throw the ball. So as good as Aaron Jones is, I think you get that ball on the 1. I think that's second down. First down's going there. Davante Adams on a slant route. So definitely going to get a lot of points out of Aaron Rodgers this year. Running back position, he's basically got a 1-2 combo with some backup guys. Nothing flashy, but that 1-2 combo of Ezekiel Elliott and Austin Eckler. We're a PPR league, and Austin Eckler is going to catch the ball. Austin Eckler's so confident in his ability. I don't know if you guys have seen this. He's offered to give signed jerseys to people that have won their fantasy football leagues with him on their roster, or with him in their lineup to win the championship. I don't know how many of those he's given away, but Eldon, it might be worth looking into. Maybe get a signed Eckler jersey if you win the league this year. So, and you definitely have a team that could potentially win this league this year. With Aaron Rodgers, Zeke, and Eckler right away, I haven't even got to your receivers yet. That's already a scary unit. Get to them receivers, and he's got potentially, I think Davante Adams hits the number 1 mark again. I think Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley easily could be the 2-3, somewhere mixed with Tyreek Hill in there. He's got Ridley and Diggs. It's absolutely sick to have both them guys to go with Eckler, Elliott, Diggs, Ridley, and then you're throwing in a Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk, Robbie Anderson, Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is loaded at wide receiver. Loaded. This team is loaded, and they're cheap. You get past Stephon Diggs, who's a 41. Robbie Anderson's 32. He might be a cap casualty next year, or maybe a trade bait at some point. Eldon has himself set up where he was a running back loaded team to now he's an absolute loaded wide receiver team. Doesn't have the necessarily best receiving core in the league, but it's close. I still think South Park has that by a little bit, but it's very close. They're both, between the two of them, they're both very, very loaded. at that position. Eldon's team is not going to be an easy out for anybody, and we all have to play each other. So it's going to be a tough matchup whenever you have to play the Chesaning Indians, who will come in as my number 4 team. You know, with a roster like that, you know, how can there be 3 teams that are ranked higher? But number 4, Chesaning Indians, Eldon McGraw. Number 3 is the Georgia Goons, Clay Cole. Made the title game last year, and still has another stacked, loaded roster again. Has Kyler Murray, who is ranked a lot of people as the number 3 quarterback behind Josh Allen and of course Mahomes. So you know, Kyler Murray is the quarterback. Cousins is a backup. Perfectly fine with Cousins as a backup. Shoot, there's teams in this league would love Cousins as a starter. You move on to the running backs, and probably the best starting backfield in the league: Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and DeAndre Swift. You know, there's other teams that have some good running backs, but that's a pretty loaded backfield. Ronald Jones is an RB4. That's nice as well too. You got a bye week guy you can plug in Ronald Jones, which any part of that Tampa offense right now is just waiting to boom. Tom Brady's looking to punch his ticket again, trying to get another one before he heads off into the sunset. But you know, to have Dalvin Cook, who might be the RB2 behind McCaffrey, and then you know, Derrick Henry, arguably RB3, RB4, especially for a redraft league. But I mean, even in a dynasty league right now, Clay's trying to win right now. He's not trying to, you know, necessarily stash these guys forever. You got to win it when you can win it. And both those running backs, Cook and Henry, are both 300-point plus guys. You know, if you're getting 300 points out of your running back and you're getting 200 out of a less average running back, you know, Ronald Jones put up 169. So Derrick Henry's 320 is double that. So you know, you get to start 2 players at one spot when you start a guy like Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Ronald Jones. After that, you know, DeAndre Swift. After that, you know, got Alexander Madison, Royce Freeman. Nothing's going to blow your mind. Madison could get some play time if Dalvin Cook went down. But basically just backups after that. Wide receiver, you're starting Keenan Allen and Allen Robinson to go with those 3 backs. Awesome starting lineup. You can't add better than that. Again, one of the things I failed to mention with Chesaning, he also has Travis Kelce as his tight end. So, you know, and I say that because now you got Darren Waller for Georgia. So these top heavy teams, these great teams have these great tight ends. Also, you know, that's taking up that position that you have to start. Starting Darren Waller along with Allen Robinson and Keenan Allen and those running backs. Georgia's trying to win right now. Chesaning's trying to win right now. You know, Chicago, South Park are going to try to win right now. They both are very, very loaded. And I'm getting excited about it because our league has made great strides, especially in the top 8-9 teams, to all be very competitive. They're not going to be easy outs. And even some of those teams on the back end that aren't as competitive now, they've made strides to prove their team. So the league is going to be very, very competitive this year. So the number 3 team, Georgia, Clay Cole and his Georgia Goons coming in at number 3. Definitely a team to watch out for, and definitely a top contender. The number 2 team is the Chicago Fire. And the biggest reason that I have them ranked at 2 over teams like Georgia and Chesaning is the return of Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is by far the best running back in the league. And now you pair Christian McCaffrey with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kareem Hunt, picked up James Conner as an RB4, which is really nice. But it's basically going to be Helaire and probably McCaffrey running the 1-2 for the running back positions. They got Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson at quarterbacks. You know, the future's there for them with Herbert. Down the line, might have to add a different one as Russ begins to age a little bit. But got the number 1 running back in the league, paired with a nice RB2 and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Got backups of Kareem Hunt. And James Conner, even Naheem Hines is a nice backup. So definitely stacked at that position. And then you also have the number one wide receiver on this roster in Devontae Adams. You have DeAndre Hopkins, which might be the number 3 wide receiver, maybe the number 4, depending on where you're putting guys. But definitely 2 top 4 wide receivers with the top running back in the league. So you're starting Adams and D-Hop along with DJ Moore. Jamar Chase was the added guy this year, and Jerry Jeudy from last year. Jerry Jeudy didn't have a bad year last year. He's had a lot of drops and terrible quarterback play. So if he even gets average quarterback play, now they have Sutton back, can't double team him. Judy's going to take strides for this roster. DJ Moore is going to take strides for this roster as he has better quarterback play now. Even Darnell Mooney further down the depth chart. The wide receiver core for this team is very deep. The running backs are deep. The receivers are deeper. And they're also very top heavy when you got Adams, Hopkins, DJ Moore, all 3 top 10 wide receivers pairing with a couple of top 10 running backs. So team is definitely in very good shape to make a contending run. You look at the tight end position, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, also maybe the number 3, because I have Waller as the number 2 behind Kelsey. I have Kittle as the number 3, Andrews as the number 4. So I have another guy at number 4. Andrews around the number 5 tight end spot. So definitely tight end depth across the board is starting to rebuild on this roster. They've got a lot of draft picks going forward next year. They've got a couple guys on the taxi squad and Judy and Amari Rogers, guys that probably will get pulled up by the end of the year. But definitely his team is a contender again. They finished 3rd last year after making 4 straight title games the 4 years prior to. So the Chicago Fire is definitely a contender in 2021. That brings us to the number 1 overall team, and that is the South Park Cows. And South Park is just the beneficiary of gobbling up those draft picks. And when you gobble up all those draft picks like that, you're just absolutely taking in all those players that you get to just gobble up. And what they've done is just create an insane lineup of players that are going to be tough to beat for our league for quite some time. His weakness is the quarterback spot, where he has Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield, and Jameis Winston. And all 3 of them are very capable starters. This is only a 1 quarterback league. You don't need to blow the doors off the hinges at the quarterback spot. So that's a place where you can be a little bit weaker compared to any other place. So it's the rest of the team that's really good. And you start with the running back position, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Edmonds, J.K. Dobbins, Javonte Williams, A.J. Dillon, Darrell Henderson. I mean, just absolutely loaded at the position. So, and they're all young guys that are going to still be around, with the exception maybe Darrell Henderson. Not really a fan of that guy necessarily. But especially now that they have Sony Michel. But definitely everybody else is poised in a good spot. He even has Chuba Hubbard. If McCaffrey goes down, gets to take him over and push him in. Loaded the position. We're like 6 deep at that spot. Then you go to the wide receivers, and he's even deeper at wide receiver. And I mean, insane deep at wide receiver. Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, Odell Beckham, Gabriel Davis, T. Higgins, just absolutely loaded at the position. Didn't even mention he has Cam Akers as one of his running backs too, who has a season-ending injury. Think he missed him at all? I don't think so. He's got plenty of other horses in the stable to take over until he gets back. Tight end has guys that aren't those top 3, top 4, but he has Noah Fant, Gesicki, and Goddard. 3 guys that are easily in the 6, 7, 8 range of tight ends, and you can play any one of them at any given time. So this team is loaded, has lots of future potential. And on top of that, has like several draft picks over the next 2 years. I think he has like 2 next year or something like that, and like 3 first-round draft picks in 23, including the Anaheim, Ducks draft pick, which is probably going to be in the top 2, top 3, maybe even number 1. So, the rich get richer, and like I said, Chicago has next year's Anaheim pick. So over the course of the next couple of years, there's a couple teams gonna keep building theirs up a little higher. Still, Georgia will still be building higher. Chesaning will be as well. There's a lot of very good teams in this league, and it's going to be a great year. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the rankings for this. Putting South Park Cows as the number 1 team going into the preseason. We'll see if that's the Madden curse, and if it knocks him down. This is a team that not only didn't make the playoffs last year, they only won like 3 games. Just the injuries were piling up, and among other things, it was just not a good year for them. But now there's so much depth there, and with all the draft picks, just so much to build on. It's going to be hard to keep this team from winning in 2021. I think the top 4 teams are virtual locks for the playoffs unless the wheels just completely fall off the train. So anyways, that's it for me today. The number 1 team of the Crab Dynasty League is the South Park Cows going into the preseason of 2021. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.